there
maybe
before.
fight for the right guard spot now with Cole Madison, whoever else they may bring in, whether that be a tackle that they think can play guard, or drafting a guy like an Risner or Ford or Lindstrom that I've also seen projected to the Packers at like 30. What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
so a couple of things. Yeah, so first of all, I don't think they're going to make any draft decisions at all based on Cole Madison. I think they took him in the fifth round a season ago. He sat out the entire year, and anything at this point is got to be considered a bonus. I don't think they're, holding any specific roster spot for him. He doesn't have a guaranteed spot on this team. He's going to have to earn everything. So, first 3 rounds, they're not even considering Cole Madison in those discussions. If they want to take a guard or a tackle, they're going to take one and not think twice about it. As far as Lane Taylor, I agree with you. I think you can always look to upgrade that position. He was up and down last year. He kind of started okay, finished okay, and had some really rough games kind of in the middle. So I definitely think that you could look to upgrade there. And as far as who starts at left guard, my guess is they're going to start with Lane Taylor there, and then maybe a Cole Madison or an Alex White or a draft pick if they start really tearing it up in camp. Maybe one of them could supplant him at left guard. Cole Madison apparently practiced at left guard today, so that's kind of intriguing as well.
Oh, wow, that is intriguing. So I guess part of what I was thinking was the whole. You kind of remember when they did the flip flop at the beginning of 14, where they flopped Sitton and Lang left and right guard, and then they also flipped the two tackles, and then Blog ended up getting hurt, and of course that was the emergence of Bakhtiari. I guess I was kind of trying to look at that scenario and see if they might look at Lane Taylor and consider that type of a switch here, just because he may be better suited at right guard, than at left guard, I guess is the way I look at it.
He just might be the odd man out if he gets hurt again.
Yeah, that too, I guess. I just, because it seemed like Sitton was better at left guard than he truly was at right guard. And again, TJ Lang excelled better at the right guard. So that seemed to work out, even though it doesn't seem like a big deal. So I guess that's why I was just projecting maybe that might help out even a Lane Taylor solidify a spot, because it's, I don't want to say a lesser position, but it's an easier position than even the left guard spot would be.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I don't know that there's a ton of upside in switching Lane Taylor's position at this point. Even Sitton and Lang both said it was a huge pain in the ass to have to learn the other side of the line. So I don't think you're probably doing Lane Taylor any favors. I think you start him at left guard in the key campaign, and you think all of a sudden Cole Madison or an Alex White or a draft pick is going to do better than him. The scenario here is what they did to Josh Sitton, and he was coming in as the starter, and they cut him at the end of training camp and save some money. So I think they'll try to give him every opportunity to win that left guard spot, and if he shows he can't, they'll go cheaper.
And then okay, here. Let's kind of shift, since we're talking draft anyway. And I've seen a lot of mocks with the DK Metcalf, the Noah Fant, and the TJ Hawkinson, when I feel like there's premier guys, and I would rather even have a Greedy Williams, even if you're not going to take a Burns or one of those guys. What is the deal, and are you one of these guys or not that's in that boat that wouldn't mind that? Or I mean, where do you sit on that, Andy?
And we're talking at pick 12 here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see. So a couple things. At pick 12, as I kind of mentioned earlier, you want a premium player at a premium position. And when I talk about premium position, I'm talking about quarterback, receiver, tackle, edge rusher, or I guess I should say pass rusher. I don't really care for the edge or the interior. And then cornerback. And I think if you look in this draft, they're not going to take a quarterback at 12. And I don't necessarily think that there's a corner that's worth taking there either. I agree with you. I don't think there's a wide receiver that's worth taking at 12 either. So I'm not on the BK train at 12. I don't think that he has that type of value, and I think there's too many question marks there.
The neck issue is all of a sudden.
Sorry, go ahead.
The neck issue for me is just the biggest no-no, because it's like we've seen it before in Packer history. How they feel about the neck thing,
Yeah, no, for sure. The injury question there is certainly something that has to be bettered as well. But I think they're going to want to take somebody that's got a little bit more positional value than probably wide receiver and corner with what's available in this draft. But I will say this. If you don't feel really comfortable with one of those pass rushers or one of those interior rushers, and you really love Hockenson, okay, I'm not on board necessarily with taking the tight end at 12 in most drafts. If you want to take him at 12, you have to hit. He has to be George Kittle. He has to be Travis Kelce. He's got to be a player like that because this is a very rich pick to take a tight end at. And I think, like I said, if they're going to do it, it has to be the right one. I love Hockenson, but I agree with you. I think Hockenson's rich. I wouldn't take Metcalf there, and I certainly wouldn't take Fant there.
And okay, this is my big question that I've kind of
There's
really
more
wanted.
tight end value at 30 around there and still get the guy we want at 12.
Well, yeah, that too. And here, Dave, I think this goes with what you and I both kind of agree on here with everything we've seen, Dave. So this is our big kind of question I've come up with, our discussions for you, Andy. And I wrote it down. So it's like this. Would you agree that outside of the top 5 prospects, the grades between the players are particularly so close this year that it's more of a year that warrants trading back and getting not only more players, but acquiring future assets so that in 2020, 2021, if you find that quarterback, because this all started with the whole Drew Lock visit. Let's just, go there. And if if you're really wanting to do that, this is a draft that, like, I've heard it so many times now, that the grades outside of the top 5 are just so close that at 15 to 30, it's not much of a difference between the top of the second, and so on and so forth. Is that something you're in agreement with, and a philosophy you'd look at, that this is an opportunity to build not only with young, cheap talent now, but also set yourself up for the future so that you are ready when there's an actual quarterback that, and a need there, because of the contract and everything that Aaron's already got? It just doesn't make sense. Is that something you're on board with?
Yeah, so there's a lot to digest here, and there's a lot kind of to break down. Let me start by saying, if you get that New Orleans Saints type of trade from a season ago, I'm on board with that almost every single day of the week. If you have a first-round pick, and you can leave with a first-round pick and get another first-round pick next year, do it every single time. And I guess this year it didn't turn out the greatest because the Saints went out and had a really great year, and you're picking 30 instead of, maybe 15, 20, something like that. But that's an amazing lottery ticket then you have for the next season. And hopefully that team has an injury or something happens, and you end up taking really early with their pick the following year. And keep doing that year after year after year as much as you can. So I'm always on board with that. That said, if one, the philosophy is that the difference between pick 12 and pick 30 isn't that much, then there's probably not going to be a team that's wanting to give you a whole ton to move up at pick 12. And if that's the case, if you're maybe getting a third or a late second to move up, or to move back, then I really have to take a look at what's there and what maybe the difference is. And I might just want to take the guy that I like the most at 12 rather than playing with fire and picking up something next year that maybe doesn't end up being that great. But I think it really comes down to what's there at 12. If there is one of those top offensive linemen, if a Brian Burns, if an Ed Oliver, if somebody like that is there, you take them and you don't really question it. But if all of a sudden one of those top guys isn't there and the team is willing to move up and give you something that's of great value, no question, move down. And I do agree to an extent. I think once maybe those top 10 guys go, I think you could be in a position where it's more advantageous to move down.
All right, I like all that.
Andy, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a cold, hard, rock solid question right here. If you had to slide that card across the table right now and give it to the NFL, who are you taking? Or if you had to trade back, who are you trading with?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So I can pick anyone I want, or what's the scenario here?
Who do you think's going to be there at 12 in your mind, and who do you want?
Why don't Andy? Here you go. Use your pull groupings and the one that you would pick off your poll groupings. So we'll tie in your poll that you just threw out and leave you there at 12. So we not only want your answer to your own poll, but then who out of that group you're going to pick. There you go. There's your rules, Andy, on the fly. Shoot.
All right. Sounds good. So first,
I'm not good with words.
I'll answer the first question. I would take Tim Dillard. I think he's going to be there. Or sorry, Andre Dillard. Tim Dillard's the pitcher. Andre Dillard. I would take Andre Dillard. I think he's going to be there. He's a top-end offensive tackle. He's one of the best pass-blocking tackles in the last few drafts. And I think you can bring him in and be that long-term tackle. We kind of talked about all the advantages a little bit earlier. And that's why I would take him. Like I said, I think he's going to be there. I have him as a top 7 player in this draft. And, I would have no qualms about taking him there. As far as from my poll, and I think my poll was maybe misconstrued a little bit, but my goal was to say which one of those groups would you take, knowing that there's kind of a bad choice in all of them also. So with the second one, Burns, Oliver, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and Drew Lock, you don't know which one you're going to get. So it could be Drew Lock and that's true. But I'll take, let's see here. I'd probably take the first group, Dillard, Bush, Tillery, or Abram. Actually, I'm fucking guessing myself now.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Ooh. I like this.
I'm gonna go with the group 4. Actually, I think at least I end up for sure getting someone that's good. I don't end up with anyone that's great, but I for sure get someone that's good. I could
live with someone who's a safety net.
Yeah, I could live with Metcalf, Greedy, Taylor, or Farrell as a worst case scenario. Rather than a Rashawn Gary, a Drew Lock, or Jonathan Abram, also could be too big of risks for me. So I'll take group 4, and I would hope that it's probably Taylor or Greedy.
Wow. Well,
I would give you the biggest hug.
Okay, Dave has an affinity and planted this watermelon seed in my head that has really got me spun on this whole idea of drafting Greedy Williams with 12. And
Greedy. Trade back, though, and get him.
And people aren't helping me because they keep giving me these scenarios where my all-time favorite player I want to see at 12, Burns, is gone. So then it's like I can't not want him there. But I do like your Dillard because
yes, Dillard's solid.
Here's the reason why. At the end of the season, my first argument to Packer fans, Andy, was we need to look at the teams that made instant turnarounds with quarterbacks that were coming off of injury-prone seasons, i.e. the Colts. And what did they do? Something that everybody thought was kind of overpriced, but agreed across the board it was the best player. They used the 6th pick on an all-pro rookie guard. And I said, if you want to compete, you need to stop worrying about the flash and having a top 2 defense and protect that man so he can do his job and surgically destroy the league. And I got blowback from it hard. So I have to kind of really love your initial here with Dillard because it goes to my very first assessment and my very first thought postseason.
Yeah, no, that was mine as well. I thought offensive line was maybe the biggest need going in. I like what they've done in the offseason, but I still think you can try to make it better. Like kind of like you alluded to with Lane Taylor. It's fine that you've got a good player. Let's try to get great players. And let's try to make it even better. Just going back to Greedy Williams for a second. I have no problem addressing corner early. This is a defensive coordinator in Mike Patton that really, really loves corners. I think he wants as many as he can. There's times where he's got 5, 6 corners on the field last year. So just because they've got 2 corners on the top of the roster doesn't necessarily eliminate that for me. From a Greedy standpoint, to me, he's not a top 15 corner in most drafts. Again, if you want to, if you're picking at 12, hopefully not very often, you want a really tough end player, and I just don't see Greedy as that. And I actually think there's a lot of similarities between Greedy Williams and Kevin King. They don't get beat deep very often. They're tall, they're fast, but they can be beat inside with some ease. They both have to work on correcting that. So I actually talked to Ben Fennell a little bit about the podcast I did, and we talked about how we already have a group a little bit in Kevin King. You probably don't need another. And at some point, you can't continue to address the same positions with a ton of top 50 picks. And they've spent a lot of capital on cornerbacks, and at some point you've got to get these guys, Kevin King, Josh